Hello and welcome to Friday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we're going to be looking at another 100% rated puzzle, this time by the great zetamath. This one's called Double Double, and it involves cells that have to be treated as doublers, which is interesting indeed. Look, and there's even a Z for zetamath in the middle of the grid, and that could even be in... Is that Eta? Is Eta that way round? I'm not sure. But yeah, there's clearly some graphic design gone into the creation of this puzzle, and it's very, very popular. I don't think it's monstrously hard, according to Logic Masters Germany. It's got 4 stars out of 5 for difficulty, which is, well, we'll see. We'll see how we get on. But before we do that, a few things to mention first. Let me do the birthdays. Matthew, it's your birthday today. Your wife Kimberly told us about that, so I hope that you have a brilliant day. And also Harmon, it's your birthday today, and your wife Inga wrote us an absolutely gorgeous email. And she told me that you've turned the secret age today, which of course is the triangular number for 9, which many of you will know if you watch the channel is 45. So happy 45th birthday, Harmon, for today. I think you're over in Delft, and I believe your family, so your wife, you and your daughter have now today reached the grand old age of 100, which is a very nice fact as well. And happy birthday, Inga, for the 26th of September coming soon. Anyway, that's the birthdays. I hope obviously all birthdays today get lots of cake as usual. And what else is going on? Well, I think the big news really, which is something we've been stunned by, has been the response to our solve of this puzzle on Patreon. So this is a puzzle called Jabberwocky by Dad Jokes. And Mark and I, well, we were far from sure whether it would be popular, but we recorded a video yesterday in which we solved the puzzle together. So we're both sort of contributing ideas as we go along. And the feedback has been, well, amazing. I think the most used adjective in the comments on the video is the word love. You guys seem to love watching us solve together, which we were not expecting at all. And so we're definitely going to do it again. But if I do think, well, the feedback suggests it's a video that's well worth watching. So if you are a patron, you haven't checked out the video yet, do have a look at it. If you're not a patron, it might be worth becoming a patron to see it. And well, there's a lot of other content. Obviously, we've got our monthly rewards over on Patreon too, and you've still got 4 more days to get in your answers to our linked Sudoku hunt, which appeared on the 1st of September. And if you want to play Jabberwocky, by the way, by Dad Jokes, you can find a link to play this puzzle under this video, and it's a very good puzzle. You have to solve it in 3 stages. So there's sort of an abstract Sudoku stage where almost each one of these 3x3 boxes is treated as a separate puzzle, almost. Then there's a snake stage, and finally there's a normal Sudoku stage at the end. So it's a rather wonderful congregation of ideas, if you like, and yeah, do have a look at it anyway. But that's not the puzzle we're going to be doing in this video. That is this one. The other thing to mention though is that tomorrow night Mark and I are going to be streaming 10 o'clock UK time. Love to have your company for that. We're going to be continuing our journey through our 500,000 subscriber special puzzles from our recent free app, which you can download on your devices. It's available on Steam, on Android, and on App Store. So just search for Cracking the Cryptic and you should be able to locate it. Now I'm going to read you the rules to Double Double, and then I'm going to try and solve it. So the rules are as follows. Normal Sudoku rules apply. The digit in the square cell is 2, 4, 6, or 8. I think it means the grey square cell, because there's a lot of square cells in this puzzle, but I'm presuming that one. That's got to be an even digit. The rest of the clues in the grid are double arrow clues, i.e. the sum of the digits along a line is equal to the sum of the digits in the circles at either end of the line. So let's just check we understand that. So that means that this cell and this cell, you add them up, and that should also be the total of those cells along the line. I think that's how it works. So what about a short line? So a short line is telling us those 2 cells. So, oh, I see. So imagine that was a 1 and a 2. Then that would be a 3. 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. I think that's how it works. Let's do a slightly longer one. So if that was 2 and that was 5, that's 7. So now I need to make those add up to 7, which I could do like that. So I think, right, I'm starting to get the hang of this idea. Digits may repeat freely along a double arrow. Okay, well, presumably that's unless you break normal sudoku rules. I don't think you can do something like this. That's not going to work, but I think you can. What that means is you could do something like that. Now, additionally, the grid contains 9 doublers, 1 in each row, column and box. For purposes of double arrow clues, cells on doublers count as double their value. Okay, well that's going to render absolutely otiose all of those examples I just did, because what that's saying is imagine that cell is a doubler, which we will award the mantle of redness to indicate doublingness. So imagine this cell was, I can't remember what the numbers I put in, let's say it's 5 and 2 again, then this counts as 10. So that's 10 plus 2 is 12, so these have to add to 12, is how I think that might work. Although, what if that was a doubler as well? Then that could be, I don't know, that could be 5 again, I suppose. No, that won't work, will it? Because then that's going to make that a 2. So if that's a 4, oh, that could be then a 4. This is very strange. This does not look like it works mathematically, but I think it does. 10 plus 2 is 12. 3 lots of 4, which is effectively what happens when you double this one, is also 12. So that might be how this rule works. And there's one more rule which says each digit from 1 through 9 is doubled exactly once. Right. So each doubler, so effectively we're going to find one doubler in each box, aren't we? And as we look through the grid, we're going to have one of each number doubled. Okay, well that makes sense, I guess. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now I get to play Let's Get Cracking. And we will get cracking with, well, I'm thinking it's going to be one of the long lines. It's either going to be this one or this one, I think. That's got 6 digits. Right. Well, that's impossible. Straight. Oh, no, it's not impossible because I have to... Right, okay. I'm forgetting about the doublers already. Right, so these cells here are a minimum. If we put the absolute minimum in here, I even got the even cell right, look at that. We would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, which add up to 21. So that means, I think, these 2 cells have to add up to at least 21. Well, obviously that's impossible, unless we have this doubler mechanic going on. Because even if I double 9 to those cells, they would only add up to 18. So at least one of these 2 cells is doubled, possibly both of them. Now I don't have a good way of notating that. Ah, right, okay, but I'm actually wondering whether the point of the doubling of one of these cells is not... This is suspicious to me. Look at those cells there. Well, once you know that at least one of the cells in this corner of the square, this big square here, once we know that one of those at least is doubled, neither of the other end cells can be doubled, and that looks deeply suspicious because those are at the end of the other long line in the grid. So these cells are definitely not doubled. So we probably are going to have a colour for that. Green is the colour I'm going to make, not doubled. Although red-green colourblind people... Although, hang on. I'm just thinking about if I use red for doublers and green for not doublers, is that going to give people a problem who are red-green colourblind? But I think people tell us anyway that the red-green we use in our palette is actually not offensive for red-green colourblind. So hopefully you'll allow me that today. Because there should only be a few red cells as well, so it's not like where we're going to have parity colouring where it's all going to be very mixed up. There's only going to be one red cell in each box, so hopefully this will be okay. Now, let's work this out. So the maximum value of these cells now is a genuine 18. If we double 9 these cells, neither can be doubled, so these cells have to add up to a maximum of 18. That's not actually that. That's restricted already, because the minimum value these cells can add up to is 16, I think. And I'm getting that by putting 1, 2, 3 and 4 in this row, which is the minimum I could put in. They would add up to 10. And the minimum then these could be would be a 1, 2, 3 triple, adding up to another 6. So 16 is the minimum, just from the line's perspective, and from the circle's perspective, 18 is the maximum. So what does that mean? Well, one thing I can see is that I can't make that 2, 3, 4. Because if I make that 2, 3, 4, once I add the 10 to that, which is the minimum I can put up there, I'll get 19, which is too many. So there must be a 1 in this string of digits, and there must be a 1 in this string of digits by exactly the same logic, but applied to those squares being 2, 3, 4 versus those 4 squares being a minimum of 10. So if these were both... Oh, hang on a minute. So I'm now wondering what the value of this digit potentially is. So if we put the absolute minimum into these squares, we'd have 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3, which is 12. So this cell cannot be greater than 6. So if I double 9 those squares, minimize these squares, this would still be able to be 6 maximum. So this is 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, whoa, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. It's not 1 because it's got lots of 1s pointing at it. And we could, I suppose, have doublers along here, but that would be very tricky to have a doubler, because it would have to be a doubled very low digit, because we know we've only got sort of a couple of degrees of freedom from the very minimum we could put in this 7-cell sequence. Right. So, okay, but if this is a minimum of 16, these are genuine numbers, aren't they? So I keep getting confused in my brain with the doublers, but these are genuine numbers, and they have to add up to at least 16. So neither of them can be a 6, so that's going to be 7, 8s and 9s into these cells. One of these at least is doubled. Ah, this is doing my head in, actually. I'm not getting... my brain is just not responding to this at all. Not in sense that I'm enjoying it. I just can't get a grip on it. Why am I finding this so difficult? So... that could be double 8, couldn't it? Of course, these don't see each other. Although, if these are the same digit, that digit gets restricted on our Z symbol in the middle. It's like a Superman symbol that zetamath's put in the middle of his puzzle. Zetaman. Right. I think there's got to be a way we can get some handle on where these doublers are. Because until we do that, everything is so floaty and so nebulous. It's going to be awfully difficult. So this is quite a big number. But probably, yeah, even here it's not easy to see how this works. Because I could put small or large numbers in here, and I could get to a large... If there's a large number in here, like say if this was a 7, and this was a normal 7, an undoubled 7, and that was a 9, that's 16, which I could make with this single cell by making it a doubler, making it a double 8. And this could be quite a small digit on the other hand. It could be a 4. Yeah, it could actually be a 4 doubled. Because if that's a 4 doubled, that could be a 1 and that could be a 7 and that works. Yes, so there is some... It's horrible until we get some sort of grip on the doublers. We're not going to be... It must be to do with this Z, I think. So I know one of these is doubled. If both of them are doubled, does that break the puzzle somehow? Let me just think about that. So if they're both doubled, I don't think they're seeing each other, then everything would become green. All of these would become green. All of these would become green. Again, that doesn't seem to be hitting a great deal of stuff, does it? Alright, forget that. I don't think that's a good thought. One of these is doubled. Unless it's something to do... Oh, maybe it's this line. Okay, so if you can't put 1 on this line, that's a minimum of 2, 3, and 4, adding up to 9. But that's very much equal to that, isn't it? So that these could be quite similar digits, and there's no problem at all. No, okay, that's not it either. That digit is... What's that digit? This is another one like this, I think, where we've got... So this is 7, 8, or 9. Ah, no, right, okay, maybe it's this one. Maybe that has to be doubled here. Because this can't be a 1. I'm just wondering if it can be a 2, because if it can't be a 2, if that's at least 3, then 7 plus 3 is 10, and that cannot equal 10 without being doubled. So can that be a 2 is the question I'm wondering about. And if that was a 2, this would be 1, 3, 4, 5 at a minimum, which is 13. And that would be at least 6, which is 19, and that's not possible. Good grief. Right. So the key is that this is not a 2. Because if it's a 2, this line adds up to 19 at least, and you can't make those circles add up to 19 because they're both natural. So this is at least a 3, which means this is at least a 10, which means this is doubled. So that's doubled. And that is our first doubler. Now we can do some greenage, because those have all got to be green. This box has got to be green, and all of these have got to be green, because that's what the rules tell us. There is one doubler in each row, column, and box. So let's just work out what are the values that are possible in this cell now. If that's minimumed, which is 3, actually I'm just going to check, can that actually be 3? If it's 3, this is 1, 2, 4, 5 as a minimum, which is, oh, that does work. That does work, because that would be 12 plus 6 is 18, which would require double 9 here, which is possible, I think. So this is at least 3, which I'm not going to pencil mark. And so this is at least 5. Because obviously 3 plus 5, or 3 plus 7 is 10. Half of 10 is 5. Right. Oh, I know what it is. Ah, I've got it. Right. Okay, now this is not doubled, but we worked out at the very start one of these two at least was doubled. So if this is not doubled, that's doubled. And now we've got 2 doublers. And now I can do more greenification of the world. In fact, loads of greenification. It's a very eco-friendly puzzle. And now... Well, what does that mean? Well, now, hang on, that's now a natural sequence, which is troubled. Right, okay, because this is constrained now, because that's so big. So if that's minimumed, which would be 1, 1 plus 7 is 8. So that is 8 or 9. That's 8 or 9, that's 1 or 2. And that can't be 9 anymore, because if it's 9, this is going to have to be a 2-digit number. And that... okay, so now this can't be double 9 anymore. So there's only one degree of freedom on the long line. This is very clever. It's so intricate, and the way these lines sort of bounce back and forward between each other is strange and wonderful. So yeah, if this can't be double 9, the maximum value for this now would be 8 plus 9, which is 17, and the minimum value is 16. So now we might have to have 2's in both of those sequences. So if we didn't, if we had 1, 3 and 4 there, that doesn't work, because that's adding up to 8. And 8 plus a minimum there of 1, 2, 3 and 4, which is 10, is 18, which we've now said we can't do. So there is now a 2 in both of these strings, which means that little cell at the junction is not a 2. Now, we already knew that couldn't be a 2. Does it now have an inability to be 3 again? I think 3 gave... Right, I'm going backwards and forwards here. So if this is 3, this is 1, 2, 4, 5 minimum, which is 12. That's a minimum of 6, which is 18 again, which we've just said we can't do. So now this is at least 4. 4 plus 7 is 11, so double 5 doesn't work anymore. So this is now 6, 7, 8 or 9. And there's there's something going on with parity here, isn't there? I want to say that these are the same parity. Yeah, because the effect of doubling this digit is to create a number that's divisible by 2, to create an even digit, where these two need to add up to an even digit. So if this is odd, that must also be odd. If that's even, that must also be even. So there is a sort of parity thing going on between those digits, which we will label with a P for parity in the corner. These have the same parity. But I don't think that's going to be terribly useful just now. I mean, that could be very low or very high, I think. So, what do we do next? We could think about... I don't know. It's another of these puzzles where my intuition is not playing ball at all. These 2 digits now have to be... We know they're adding up to at least 21, and we've only got one doubler to play with. So if this was 9, which is the most it could be, this would have to count for 12 at least, which means it must be doubling at least 6. So that is at least 6. 6, 7, 8 or 9. Now, hang on a moment though. Can that actually be 6? And the reason I ask that is the moment I make that 6, I now can't put 6 on this line anymore. So the minimum value for this line would now be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 7, which is 22, which I can't get to because this cannot be a 10. So no, that doesn't work, and this is now not a 6. So this is a 7, 8 or a 9. I've got a 7, 8, 9 triple in this column. Now, oh yes, now I wonder... Is it really possible that I can put 7, 8 and 9 on this line here? So let me try that. If I put 1, 2 and 7 on here... No, that's not. It's total nonsense. We clearly can't have a 7, 8 or a 9 on this line, because then the minimum these 3 digits add up to is 10. 10 plus 10 is 20, which breaks the total for those 2 digits. So that means in this box there is a 7, 8 and a 9 up here by sudoku. So this line might be where we have to look next. But hang on, I could have doublers up here. In fact, no, hang on, I've got to have a doubler up here. Oh, bobbins. Oh, once you could have doublers, it just becomes too open again. Like, even if these are massive. You know, this could be doubled. I'd love to know what the other digit is in here, actually. That might give me some sort of ability to work out what can and can't be doubled. I don't know. Right. I don't know where to look. I really don't know where to look. Does that digit have to be large? If that's 9 and it's doubled, no, it doesn't. If that's 9 and doubled, then to get to 21, which is all we'd need to get to, this only has to be a 3. Wow. Can this line have a big number on it? I'm wondering if I can force this to have to contain these 2 digits. If this line's got a 7 on it, then it's a minimum of 22. That couldn't be a 7, but it's doubling a bigger number, so that's helping it to reach 22, and this is still low. That's no use at all. This can have big numbers on it. It's not the same as these. So is it these again then? So if these, we know that, right, we know these sum to either 16 or 17. And the only way, there's only one way they can sum to 17, and that's with a 9 here and an 8 here. Which would make that a 7, actually. Hang on. 9 and 8 here. Make this a 7. And that, oh, and they force that to be, oh, hang on, this is right, that's interesting. I didn't spot this, but you actually get 4 sides of this square, this sort of square that we've got going on here. If you make this add up to 17, there's only one way to do it. It forces both of these digits to be the same number, because this has to be 7 through the logic we've worked out already and the fact it can't be 8 or 9. And now what can this digit be? Well, we've doubled 7 to get 14. We know this line adds up to at least 21, so this needs to be at least 7, and it can't be 8 or 9, so that becomes 7 as well. So what does that mean? Does that break for some reason? Yes, I'm going to... Actually, that does break. That's very pretty. That's very pretty, right. The question we just asked now is the simple one, which is that once we've got double 7 in these corners of the squares, we know the contents of this line. If I actually pencil mark it, it might be easier to see what the problem is. This line has to contain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 to be a minimum 21, which is what we know is the maximum we can get to with the other sides of the square. And now look at the problem in this box. And the problem is, what on earth do you put in this cell? This cell needs to be an 8 or a 9 by sudoku, but it sees an 8-9 pair in the column, so it's broken. Now that's huge, actually. That is huge, because now... Well, no, actually, is it huge? No, that's not huge. I thought it was going to be huge, but it's not. Well, it's a little bit interesting, because now this cannot be a 9-8 pair. That we have established. And therefore, we know that this adds up to a maximum of 16. And therefore, we know how this must be made up. Because the only way you can make this add up to 16 is going to be 1, 2, 3 here, 1, 2, 3 here, and 4 here. So the way to see that, I suppose, simply is, what's the minimum you can put there? Well, that's going to be 1, 2, 3 triple. And that forces you to have the minimum here, which is a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple, in order to keep it down to 16. What's this digit? If this is a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple, that having been a 1, 2, 3 triple, well, it's a 4. So the 4 is always going to be at the junction. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem. And now, well, now what does that mean? The part of the problem here is we don't know still. We know these add up to 16, but they could still be 8, 8 or 7, 9. If they're 7, 9, they have to be one particular way round. This would have to be 9. And that would have to then be 8. So if that's 9, that has to be 7. That has to be 8, because it sees the 9 and the 7. But then this could be as much as 8 now. So this could be adding up to 24. And by the secret, 32, which makes those two have to add up to 13, because we need the whole box to add up to 45. Something I only tell my favourite people. But you're definitely in that set of the Venn diagram, if you're still with me after 32 minutes of me gibbering on today. Now, 13 here without being 5, 8 is either going to be, oh, that's a 9 now, so this square has to be 9, 7, this square has to be 4, 6. 9, 7 here is pushing 9, 7 here. 8 on this line. I mean, it forces an awful lot if this is true, but I can't see why it's broken. So, what is it then? 2, 3, 4 here. So this digit is now at least 5 and is a natural digit. So I'm just going to put in I'm going to good lift this and see if I can understand it. So now we've got at least 12 here. And the double 6 does for that beautifully. Bother. Oh, no. No, that's not going to work, actually, because the fact that this has to add up to 16 now removes the fact that this can be a 7. Because a 7 here would require a 9 here, and that's not available. So this is now 8 or 9, which means the minimum this is adding up to is 13. 13 divided by 2 is more than 6, so that cannot be 6 or more. Yeah, it is more than 6. It's 6.5. So this now has to be 7, 8 or 9. 2 7s, 8s and 9. Ah, those can't be the same. How can we force these to be the same? We could. If that's 9 and that's 7 and that's 8, what does that one become? If this is 9, this is 7, this is 8, this can't be 8 now, and it can't be 9. So this would be 7, 14, that would be 9, that would be 5, and that's not broken. Okay, sorry, that doesn't work either. What about... Can this really be 7? Maybe that's the point I've got to worry about. If that's 7, 14, we know we're heading up. We know this would then be, that would be a 7, 8, 9 triple, because this would have to be at least 7. No, okay, that doesn't seem to do it. 2, 3, 4. We've got a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple here, so these squares have to be from 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Yes, all right, zetamath, you got me. I'm going to pencil mark it. I'm feeling very, very adrift with this one. So that's quite a big natural digit, but we can just correct for anything with doublers. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 down here. Those cells have got to be quite big now. 5, 6, 7 minimum. That's 18. Right. I see what you've done here, you naughty man. Right, here we go. Now I'm going to pencil mark this fully, just to show you what's occurring to me here. What's the minimum value of those square cells? Well, if I 5, 6, and 7 them, they're adding up to 18 minimum. I've still got to put that cell in, so that's 19 minimum for those cells. Well, there's simply no way we can make those circles add up to 19 without the use of, you've guessed it, a doubler. So that cell is red. And that means all of these, and all of these turn green. That's got to be huge, hasn't it? So now we can... Well, now we're very much limiting our doubler locations in 3 other boxes, 4 other boxes. No, all of them. They're all down to 2x2s. For some reason, this area looked like it wasn't that sort of nature, but it is. Now, this digit, I think, has to be... Oh, no. I was about to say it has to be a big number, but maybe it doesn't, because now it's getting... So what's the least it could be? We know this is 19 at least, so this can't be... I want to say this can't even be 5. If this is 5, that doubles to 10, plus 8 is 18, and we know this is adding up to at least 19, so this is actually quite big. 6, 7, 8, or 9. If I can get rid of 6, then I've got a 7, 8, 9 doubler triple. A strange sentence. If this is 6, these have a minimum value then of 20 if they were 5, 7, and 8. And that doesn't work. Hang on, this is important, I think. If that's a 6, yeah, it doesn't work. It's lovely. It just fails. Because if this is an 8, which is the most it could be, the circles would add up to 20. But these cells, which would have to be a 5, 7, 8 minimum, would add up to 20, and I've still got to add that one in. So that's 21 altogether, which is more than these can possibly be. So that is not 6, and now I have got a 7, 8, 9 doubler triple. And now I've nearly got a normal quadruple in this box. So if this is 7 now, can we break that as well? If this is 7, this is a minimum of 5, 6, and 8, which is 19. Plus 1 is 20, but that's actually fine then, because we get double the 7, and we get to at least 21 in these squares. So I've got lots of latitude. So that's weird, the way that just suddenly flips around the other way and is absolutely fine. I suppose it's because when we were mucking about with 6 here, we were taking out a low digit from this total and therefore pushing the total up dramatically, whereas when this is 7, we've still got the availability of the 5 and the 6. Right. So, okay. What on earth do we do now? It must matter that these are the same. That feels very zetamath-y to me. Maybe the point is that all the other doublers now have to not be 7, 8, and 9. Oh, you see, that's almost really fascinating here. So if we can... Yeah. Oh, okay. But we are... No, we didn't know. We didn't know. So there's a 789 triple in this 2x2 here. And wherever they go, they are not the doubler. There is another cell here that's the doubler. Right. So in this box, the doubler is a 4, 5 or a 6 because it's not a 1, 2 or 3 and it can't be a 7, 8, 9. So there is a 4, 5 or a 6 in there, which we already knew. But we now know it's the doubler. Oh, I know something. Those are not doublers. Those are not doublers, because if we double anything along this line, I can't make these add up to 16 anymore, because this would add up to 17, and we proved that didn't work. So those are green. And if they're green, one of these squares is a doubler. These aren't. These are green, therefore. So there's a doubler in one of those. There's a doubler in one of these. Oh, this is beautiful. Right. Oh, no, it isn't beautiful. No, it's not. I was about to stupidly eliminate 7, 8, and 9 from both these cells on the basis of this doubler triple. But I can't. I can only eliminate 7, 8, 9 from the one of these that's a doubler, and I don't know which one of these is the doubler. Oh, okay, but I do know, therefore, that the 5 or the 6 here is the doubler. Because it can't be the 7, 8, the 9. This is it. This is it. Right. So, I am going to claim that these 3 boxes now have a 4, 5, 6 doubler triple in them. Because the doubler digit here is not 1, 2 or 3 and can't be 7, 8, 9, so it's 4, 5 or 6 in one of those cells. The doubler digit here is the same, it's a 5 or a 6 because it can't be a 7, 8 or a 9, and the doubler digit here can't be a 1, 2 or 3, and we know it can't be a 7, 8, 9, so it must be a 4, 5 or a 6. So altogether the doublers between these boxes are 4, 5 and 6, and that means the doublers in these boxes are 1s, 2s and 3s. I think I might be doing this wrong, because if this is the way you're meant to solve this, this is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, but it's not easy at all. It's 42 minutes in. Okay, come on, Simon. So what is it that I'm meant to do here? I think, well, it feels to me a fascinating thing that the doublers in these 3 boxes are 1s, 2s and 3s, but how on earth am I meant to work out where they go? Please, somebody tell me. Preferably using your time machine. 2, 3. There's a doubler digit up here, but I know it's a 4, 5 or 6, but I just don't know where it goes. It could be on the arrow. It doesn't have to be on the arrow. The only other thought is there some way we can force these digits to be... These have to be a genuine triple. They all have to be different. The problem is this digit is so flexible. Let me think about this. So if... It's not this parity thing, is it? That's not somehow relevant. if that's 9, that's 7, this becomes 8, that becomes 7 then. And that becomes 5. I think I looked at this before. That's absolutely fine, isn't it? So then I get 9 here, 7 here, 8 here, 7 here, 9 in the corner. There's no 9 here, therefore. What was this digit? That was a 7 under this analysis, wasn't it? So I'd have 7, 9, but this is doubled, so I'd have 25 into these squares, which is big, actually. Without a 9, that is big. 8, 7, 6, 4. So I get a 4 here. And 8, 7, 6 here. Oh, this is crazy. This is just too difficult to see. It's too difficult to see. So, if that's 8, that becomes 8 as well, doesn't it? Because we need 16, so we get double 8, but I think that's not going to be. I suppose that becomes 9 then. So that becomes 7. So, oh, that becomes 9. Oh, hang on. Is that right? Hang on, let me just look at this, because I've not thought about this before. So if we go double 8 here, because this now has to be 9, which I hadn't spotted or thought about, that becomes 7. Now that digit's under some pressure now. Hang on. If this is 8... this doesn't work at all. I think, well, I was about to say it's fairly simple. It's not simple at all, but it is. I can now see, once you have the right structure to the thoughts, it is fairly clear why this is broken. Yes, in fact, what I should have done, the way I could have got this more quickly, I think, is I've still got 9 pencil marked in here. Well, that's a silly digit to have in there, isn't it? Because 9 doubled is 18, and there's no way I can make these 18 without making those double 9 as well. So I'd have 3 9s in that little triomino. That's clearly nonsense. So we could have removed the 9 from here. Still don't think this is that easy to see. But now, the point is that if you do try and make this 8, it's very clear this becomes 7. And that means this has to be 9. But because this is 8, this becomes 8. And that's an 8-9 pair in that column. And that breaks that digit. So there are a few ways you can see this. It depends. It doesn't really. You can make this 8, which forces this to be 8, which forces this to be 9, and this to be 7. And then say, but that's 7 as well. And you get a repeated digit in red. That's one way you could say it's broken, because you can't repeat a digit in a red. Or you can break it by looking at the fact that the effect this has on this cell. But this is massive now. This is massive because now I've proved this is not 8. And if this is not 8, it seems to only have one valid option, which is 9. Now I know this has the same parity, so that removes even digits from here. And what have we got then? If this was... well, hang on. That's now 7. Oh, there's all sorts going on now. That's become an 8. That's become a 9 by sudoku. This being an 8, oh, it's beautiful. This being an 8 means that is a 7 because it can't repeat in red. So that being a 7 means I've now got 14 here. So these have to add to 14, which makes this a 5. So now I can get rid of 5s and 7s along here. I've now got a 2 here by mathematics because 7 plus 2 equals 9 at the bottom. I've got a 7-8 pair in red, so that's a 9 in the corner. So those are not 9. This is what I was looking at before, isn't it? So because now, well, hang on. So now I've got 25 here because I've got double 9 plus 7. That's 25 for those 4 cells without using a 9. That's forced to be 8. 7, 6 and 4. That's the only way of doing that. So there is no 5 involved in that sum. So this is 6, 7, 8. This is 4. This is now not 6, 7 and 8. This is 5 and 9. And we know that the 5 is the red digit because the 9 cannot be because we've already got a red 9. So this is 5, 9. Those are not 9. This square over here is now a 9 by Sudoku. So that must mean, he says, oh, okay, I'm starting to get the hang of it. No, I'm not. I'm just not. But I have spotted something quite cute, I think. What is the red digit in one of those two cells? Well, it's got to be a 6, I think, because of the logic we did earlier. We worked out that the middly digits were the red digits in these 3 boxes. Now, this can't be a 4 by Sudoku. It can't be a 5 because there's a red digit up there that's a 5. So it's got to be a 6, which means that square's an 8. So that's an 8. That's a 6. Which means one of these two cells is an 8 by Sudoku now. Now, does that matter? Yes, that does matter. Because now how can that be red? If that's red, if that's the red digit, we know it's a 6, which gets doubled to 12. 12 plus 8 is 20, and I can't make 2 digits add up to 20. So that's green. This is red and counts for 12, but on the line now, which means that this digit has to be, because these two are effectively 4 apart, this digit has to be 4 less than this digit. Whoa, and I can't use 1s, 2s and 3s. I can't use 4 and 8 because that would repeat the 8. So I've got to use 5 and 9. I think that's the only way that can possibly work. So that's 5, that's 9. And let's double check. So we've now got 12 plus 5, which is 17. And we've got 8 plus 9, which is 17. Now, oh, hang on. Now it looks interesting in the middle box because I've got the alarming prospect of putting 9 on zetamath's logo and interfering with his cape. So let's just work out whether that's possible. If that's a 9, the minimum value for this is 24. Because we've got 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is 24, which would require this to be an 8. And of course it can be. Bobbins, bobbins, bobbins. Alright, what are those digits then? They are 4, 7 and 8. 4, 7 and 8 by Sudoku. So there's a 7 in one of those two cells, which is on the line up here. Oh, in fact, look, we almost know what these digits are. They're 1, 2, 3 and 7 by Sudoku, and those can't be 7. So, okay, so what does that mean? If this was a 9, it's not doubled. So we'd have 17 here. Minus 6, we'd need 11, which would be 731. That would work nicely, actually. 731, so this would be a 2. So let me just put that in. One possibility is that this is a 2. The other possibility is this is a 5, in which case it gets doubled. So this is 18. Minus 6 is 12. So these would add up to 12. They'd have to be 7, 2, 3, and this would be a 1. Right, so this is not a 3, is what we get from this. But unfortunately, we don't learn the order of these. Ah, but if that's a 6, it's doubled. So those are not permitted to be doubled anymore. So one of these is now doubled, and we know that it's doubling a small digit this time. So how could that be a doubled small digit? Is that possible? If that was, say, a 3 doubled, that would be 6. So these would have to be... No, that's fine, isn't it, actually? 1, 5 or 2, 4. Bother. Oh, I tell you something I've just noticed. Because I've got 6 here, because I can't have 4, the double digit in here is a 4. So now I know this is now a 4, 7, 8, 9 triple, which means those squares are a 5, 6 pair. Ah, that's not a 2. So down here I've got 1s, 3s and 4s to place into these cells. Oh, I see what you've done here, you zetamath. I know what you're up to. Right, now this looks troubling to me, because now I'm very much questioning. I don't think that can be a 9 anymore. Because when we did the maths on this, I assumed that could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quintuple, which it definitely can't be if that cell has to be a 1, 3 or a 4. There's no way this can be a 1. If this is a 1, the minimum value of these squares is 27. And I know that because all I did was take the triangular number for 7, which is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7, which I know is 28, and I deducted 1 from it to get 27. Now 27, even with doubling this digit, means that digit's got to be an 11. That doesn't work. I have strong suspicions this can't be a 3 either. In fact, 4, I'm now worried I might have even just broken the puzzle. If this is a 3, then we know that the minimum value for these is now 25. Just deducting 3 from the triangular number for 7. 25 requires this to be a 9, which it can't be. So that doesn't work. Double 8 is 16. We'd need a 9 here. That doesn't work. So this is a 4, and hopefully the maths will work on this, or I have made a boo-boo, which I wouldn't be surprised about. So let me think about this. So if this is 4, well, it is 4, I think. So we've now got a minimum here of 24. And that's, yeah, that works. That works. Because this has to be a minimum of 24, i.e. just deducting 4 from 28, which means this needs to be at least 8, and it can't be 9, so it must be 8. And this must be, it can't have a 9 on it, that's what we learned. So this is the 9. And these are the other digits, i.e. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 and 7, which I refuse to pencil mark, I'm sorry. So that cell has become a 6, I'm now seeing. Now, those are not 9 by Sudoku, so these are 4, 7 or 8. I'd love to know which one of these is the doubling digit. There was probably a way I meant to know that, but I don't know. I don't. It just, this is the strange thing about this. It just doesn't look appetizing. What's that digit? Maybe that's the point. I see that digit can't be a very high digit. So that's a maximum of 6. If that's... What are these digits adding up to? It depends whether one of them's doubled or not. Oh, I see. Right, okay. This digit is under pressure because what... Yes, okay, we have to look at the sum of these two cells. Because it's strange. By which I mean, if one of these is a 4, it gets doubled. So that counts as 8, to which we're adding at least 7, which means that the circles here have to add up to at least 15, and neither of them could be doubled. Well, no, that could be doubled if it was a 4, but then that would still add up to 7 and 8, because there would be no 4 on the line, and therefore this would be a 7-8 pair adding up to 15. So these are always adding up to 15, but that doesn't mean this can't be the... doesn't mean it can't be the doubled. But it does mean that digit has to be at least equal. It has to be 6, doesn't it? It can't be 5. If it's 4, I need this to be at least 11, and even with a doubling digit, even with a doubled 4, it doesn't work. Right, so that's 6. Therefore, that's 6, that's 5, that's 5, that's 9. This is it. This is it, because now I get the 9 here by Sudoku, which we know is now a green digit. I now know that this is not doubled because this is doubled. So this is 5 doubled 18. We need these to add up to 12 so they don't include a 1. So this is a 1, which means there's a 1 in one of those two cells. these adding up to 15. And we still don't know whether this is doubled or not. It could be double 4 with 7, or it just could be 7, 8 with the 4 moving here. That's quite extraordinary. I've got a terrible feeling I'm doing this puzzle all wrong. I really have. This feels very hard to me. Very hard. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's supremely clever, but I wouldn't expect anything else from zetamath. But it does amuse me that people say, oh, 4 stars out of 5 for difficulty. This feels harder than a lot of puzzles I've done recently that have been rated 5 stars out of 5. I want this to be a 9. No, it's clearly not a 9. Oh, I see, I can get a 9 here. Okay, that was an easier way of working out where 9s were. So, okay, well, this is good. I've got a 9 here now. What's that doing? There must be a way I'm meant to understand this. Ah, here's a point. Oh, this is very pretty. This is a very pretty point. Okay, one of these digits is doubled, which means because it's in one of these boxes, it's a 1, 2, or a 3. So that means that there is a virtual 1, 2, 3 triple in row 6, and that means this digit is under pressure. It can't be 1, 2, or 3, or 6, 7, 8, or 9, so it's 4 or 5. So if this was doubled now, surely the world is broken, yeah. If this is a double digit, even if it's a double 3, because that completes a 1, 2, 3 triple, this is at least a 4. 4 plus 5 is more than double 3, so this is not doubled. So that's green. This gets doubled, and we know it's a 1, 2, or a 3 getting doubled. So if this was 3 getting doubled, this would need to be a 10. So it's not 3 getting doubled. This is now 1 or 2 getting doubled. So if this is 2 getting doubled, this could be an 8. Okay, that feels quite likely actually to me, for no other reason than it seems to work. If this is 1 doubled, this could be a 6 or a 7. Oh, okay. Maybe I'm being premature about that then. Okay. I'm less confident now that this is going to be an 8. But this is doubled now. Although it's not really, it's not very punchy in terms of its doubliness, is it? But okay, but that places, I see, it places the double digit in this box. That's now the only place a double digit can go, because we can't can't have 2 doublers in a column. So that's a 1, 2, or 3. So these are 2 very small numbers being doubled. That's very pretty. This is a 3. See if you can see why. This is a 3 being doubled. If you manage to do it, congratulations. But if this is a 1 or a 2 being doubled, then those 2 squares, they're a 1 plus 2 doubled, which is 6. But there's no way of making these add up to 6, because you can't use a 1 or a 2 in them, because however these 1s and 2s are disposed, they see both of those cells. So this just can't add up to 6, because it can't be 1, 5 or 2, 4. So that has to be a 3, which means these are not doubled. So there's a double in one of these. Still isn't telling me what's going on up there. But now, what's going on? So now, these 2 digits, if this was a 1, these have to add up to 8 without using 1 or 3. So this would be 2, 6. So that would be one way round. It would have to be like that. If this is 1 on the other hand, no, sorry, if this is 2 on the other hand, it gets doubled. These add up to 10. And these would have to be 4, 6, because they could be 3, 7, 2, 8, or 1, 9. So this is always 6. But this is 2 or 4. This is definitely even. So 6 is now in one of those 2 cells by sudoku. And what does that mean? Okay, let's check this box out. 1, 2, 3, and 5. So those are not 1. No, I can't. Well, I suppose the 5 in this column is down here, so those aren't 5. Wow, oh, that's not 3, I'm just seeing. So I've got this digit down to quite a, well, quite dramatically, haven't I? Can we do better than this? I am not sure. Maybe it's... I don't know what to do. Okay, let's check this row, because I've got this 1, 2, 3 triple I've not really thought about yet. So 4s, 5s, yeah, okay, these squares can't be 4 or 8, so these have to be 5s, 6s and 7s. And there's definitely a 5 in one of those two squares, because 5 doesn't seem to be able to... Oh no, that's not true. I've just noticed this can be a 5. Okay, so I actually don't know anything about these digits then. No, okay. Oh, hang on, that digit's got to be a 2 or a 6, doesn't it? I forgot this one. This is the even digit, and it's not 4 or 8 now. It still doesn't seem to help me. 5 is new. No, it's not. It's just not, Simon. Don't think about that. What about 3 then? No. 6. One of these two cells. 8. This digit? Is this somehow restricted? I might be. Not in any way that that's immediately occurring to me. Oh, hang on. Right, so we've got double 3 here, so that's counting for 6, but then we've got 9 on the line. But this could be doubled. Oh, God. So, if this is... Well, what are its options? Its options in theory are 1, 2, 4, or 5. So if that's 5, that's 14, isn't it? And this would have to be 8. And it can't be 8 even if it's a doubled number, so that's definitely not 5. If this is 4, this is 13, this needs to be 7, and that's impossible as well. Right, so this is 1 or 2. Okay, right, okay, that's huge. That's a 1, 2 pair in this row, making this 5, apparently. Which means that... Well, it means there is a 5 in one of those two cells now. There's a 7 in one. There's a 7 in one of these cells, which means that cell's become an 8. That cell's become a 7. There's an 8 in one of these two cells. And the other digit we've not put in this row is 4, I think. Oh, is that right? That's quite important if so. Because that seems to mean this cell's got to be a 4, which is going to give me this digit. Hang on. Why is that the case? Yeah, okay, no, it's simple, isn't it? Once this gets restricted, we can just do sudoku using this form. Okay, so that's not so strange after all. So this becomes a 4. Now, this is adding up to 10, so that's got to be a 2. Now we know that this is counting for 4 on this thing, so this can't be 5, or that would need a 9 here. So this is now a 4, which means that this needs to be an 8 to make the maths work. So there's an 8 up here. This square's now a 7 by sudoku, which means that's a 4 and that's an 8. This 7 means that this has become a 5, 6 pair. That means that square's become a 2. Which means this square's become a 2 by Sudoku. And do I know much more about what's going on here? We know this is a 4-8 pair, don't we? So it's going to be about this digit, I think. I think that's the one I've not really focused on. And now at least I can, even with the possibility of it being a doubler, I ought to be able to restrict it a bit. So if this is 10, if this is a 1, that's got to account for 4. Oh, that doesn't work at all. I don't think that works. Let me just check this. If this is 10, that's counting 6. This has to count 4. Now, it could be a double 2, except there's a 2 here, so that doesn't work. Or it could be a 4, which also doesn't work. I think, therefore, that's a 2. So this is 11. This has to count for 5, which can't be a doubler, therefore, because 5 is odd. So that is 5, I think. Which, of course, then is not a doubler, which means that this is a doubler. And now if that, if that's a doubler, that is not a doubler, is I think the corollary of that. Let me just tidy all this up. So that's not a doubler, that's not a doubler, so this becomes a doubler. So that counts, that is now a 4 in that box, doubled, which does my 4 and 8 at the bottom, which means this square is a 7, this square is an 8, and these both get greenified as a result. This 2 gives me a 1 here, whoops, by Sudoku. So this square's got to be 1 or 3. Oh, and it's doubled, so it's actually a 1. Which means this is a 1, this is a 3, this is a 3, this is a 1, this is a 2, this is a 3. This is a 5, this is it, we've done it, I think. This is a 6. This is a something, a 3. How's this all working at the top? I can't quite see at the moment. I need to put 1 into this box. I need to put 7 into this box. So those squares are now a 6, 7 pair, and we've got a 6 here. So 6 and 7 go in. These are 1, 3 and 5 in some order. These squares at the bottom are 1, 5 and 7 in some order. So the 7's got to go here. That's got to be a 3, because it can't be a 1 or a 5, apparently. And therefore, that square's got to be... How's this working? Can't quite see how to do the top of the grid. Oh, that's a 7. That's probably how we do it. 2, 3, 3, 2, 7. Which means these squares now have... Oh, that's an 8 by Sudoku. These seem to have to be a 1, 2 pair, which is also filled in. Which gives me a 1, 5 at the bottom, a 5 here, a 3 here, a 1 here, and hopefully a 4 there. Now I'm just going to take a moment, if you don't mind. Have I got a different digit in every doubler cell? Yes. Have I got one doubler per row and column? Yes. Yes, I did it. That was very, very... Well, it's a brilliant puzzle. I mean, it's just a quite brilliant puzzle. The intricacy going on around this... Well, this little square thing here, and the way that this line around the outside interacts with it, is quite beautiful. But it's seriously... well, I just didn't have the right thought, to be honest, around... What was it? It was the possibility of these being double 8. Well, no, hang on. Initially, it was quite difficult to prove that this had to add up to 16. There may have been a quick way of doing that. But even once I knew that, proving that this had to not be 8 took me some insight, which was not quick in coming. And it all revolved around sort of the implicate this triple here and how this little tiny line worked. Yeah, it's really, and not repeating digits in these 3 red squares. We got the 3 red squares as being this triple double thing quite quickly, but how you actually had to use it was really interesting and intricate. And then I even knew this was 4, 5, 6 and this was 1, 2, 3 in some order fairly quickly. And it definitely helped to know these things because it gave me this 6 here, which did something up there. And it actually it also gave me this 4, 7, 8, 9 quadruple there, which helped me in this column. I mean, the way it all sort of bounces back and forward and balances in the end, it's just lovely. It really is. But that was a thorough workout. Zetamath, thank you for giving me a thorough workout. And thank you, obviously, if you're still with me and still watching. I'm sorry if I've annoyed you and I've missed some clever way of breaking that puzzle open. I will watch the comments with interest, but I do enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. So be kind to me tonight if I have been a bit slow. It might be I haven't. It might be that it just is a hard puzzle. But it definitely, if I was rating that one, I would have given that 5 stars out of 5 because it was a real mental exercise for me at least. Loved it though. Thanks to zetamath. Take another bow, my friend, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.